Hi everyone, Michael Anfield here, and thank you for stopping by for another exciting episode. We are interconnected.com. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this channel. And I want to talk about how to cope in a chaotic, crazy world that we live in today, and especially if we're vegans. So let's do this. So the first step on our journey is becoming a vegan, is awakening or reawakening to veganism. And when we do this, we start understanding that everywhere around us, there's violence and there's suffering everywhere, everywhere we go. Not just with our food choices, with the production of animal foods like meat or the flesh of animals, eggs, dairy, etc. But also with our clothing, with products that are tested on animals, and usually if a product is tested on animals, they have animal ingredients. So that's something to understand. And also um, entertainment, pets, and all that stuff. So we have to learn the ethics on all sides. And once we fully understand that we don't want to abuse animals, we don't want to exploit animals at all, then the answer is not to use them, not to see them as property. So vegans, there's of course many different types of vegans, but vegans generally the term of veganism was coined in 1944 by Donald Watson to mean that it's an ethical stance. Okay, it's a ethical stance. It's a philosophy. Okay, it's an ethical stance. It's an ethical stance against animal uh, animal cruelty, animal abuse. And so when we look further into veganism, because it just doesn't stop at what Donald Watson coined it to be, because it goes even further than that. It means that we must not use animals, period, as much as we possibly can. And so that means that we have to understand that everything, virtually everything in our society, it evolves around exploiting animals. If it's for clothing, if it's for food, if it's for entertainment, if it's for product testing, if it's for pets, if it's for uh, like just any product, because you never know that that product might have an animal ingredient in it. That animal, who knows? Like this toaster here behind me that you can't see, this might have an animal ingredient somewhere in the making of that toaster. We don't know. There might be something there that is animal derived. We don't know because they're not obliged to put down all the materials that was used. And also, when you buy shoes, for example, it's hard to find a shoe that's 100% vegan. For example, it might not contain leather. It might not contain other animal derived ingredients, but the glue might not be vegan. They might even mix in with the rubber. They might mix in some animal ingredient. Who knows? I mean, we don't know what they really do, and they're not really obliged to specify all the materials or ingredients used. So the whole idea is that we have to understand that our world is saturated with this notion that we're able to use animals, we're able to see animals as property. So that's the first thing, is to understand that, and to understand that we cannot be 100% perfect. So we have to do the best that we can. So we have to minimize as much harm as we can. That's the first step, is minimize as much harm as we can. Now, that means that we're not going to buy eggs and we're not going to buy honey, no matter if they're free range or organic or whatever, because we know that that's still exploitation and that animals are still killed at the end. And so we understand that we must do the best that we can. For example, there's a peanut butter, which I'm not going to mention the name of this peanut butter, But there's a peanut butter that's from a big company, but they say 100% natural, nothing added to it. And I thought to myself, okay, that's still okay. If you can't find anything, if you cannot find a smaller company, a vegan company that produces peanut butter, buy from that big company, okay? Because that's the best that we can do. If you live in a smaller village or whatever, and better yet, if possible, make your own. So that's the first step. So first step actually is to become vegan, to understand these issues. So there's, as Will Tuttle says, there's three stages basically. There's shallow veganism, or the first stages of veganism, which is basically being vegan and understanding all these issues and trying to really learn as much as we can. Second stage is closet or um, angry vegan stage, where basically closet vegan stage is where you don't want to talk about it to anybody. You just like kind of like hide out in your closet. And then in that same stage, there's another stage called angry vegan, where we're always angry and we see the worst in everybody and the worst in the world. And third stage is when we get to higher states of consciousness or higher states of awareness in the vegan path, and that is to be deep vegan. And that doesn't mean that we're better than other people or we're better than, angry vegans. We're just at a different stage, different consciousness level. And then there's probably more stages above that. And I want to get people to understand that there is actually other stages beyond that, like being fruitarian. But being fruitarian does not necessarily mean you have a deep understanding of the ethics of veganism. So somebody might bypass all the stages and go to fruitarianism just for health reasons. So that's that. And of course, in my book, The Lost Love, and little bit in my book, Our Path to Freedom, as well as How to Create the Perfect Vegan Life, I talk about these things as well. Even in my book, The Interconnectedness of Life as well. So that's what I want to mention. So once we understand this, we've been vegan for several years, we have a complete understanding, we understand our, how indoctrinated society is, how indoctrinated our families and friends are. And so we get to the next, I kind of call it the next major step. It's not a, uh, it's not like this, the three steps of veganism. It's a little bit different. It's like a major step. First we go vegan, and then we go to deep veganism, and then we have this other awareness beyond that, which really somewhat has to do with fruitarianism, but not really. It's kind of a combination of both. But basically, what it is understanding that not only is this society corrupted by, you know, this idea that we're have this right or authority over other animals, basically that now we understand that we're still enslaved. Even when we're vegans, we're still enslaved because we have the government that's enslaving us. We have um, corporations, organized religions, and all these institutions that are enslaving us, and we don't realize what implications or negative implications they have over us. And so this I go extensively into in my new book, Our Path to Freedom. I'm going to post the link down below because I want everyone to read it. It's in the 5th draft stage. And so please do read it. And I appreciate a review and I appreciate a feedback. And that's about it. So that's the next stage, is really to understand that not only are we're to be vegans, because that's the decent thing to do, for to mitigate the suffering and the violence, but to also understand that we're still enslaved by the governments and by the institutions of this world. And so we basically, the whole idea of the book is basically we have to go as far, we have to walk as far away as possible from our society to a new life, and create a new way of living and create new communities of love and sharing. So that's the gist of the book, Our Path to Freedom. And I think people are going to really like this book. It's really radical because these ideas, I'm not even fully on the bandwagon. It's hard in our society to move totally away from our society unless you live without anything. If you still use internet and you still have your computer, you're part of the society, unfortunately. But we can support less and less the governments, corporations, societies. We can buy less. We can become minimalists. We can become nonconformists, or at least we try to go in that direction. And the whole idea is we're not going to be perfect, but we can strive to be perfect. And that's the thing. We can strive to be perfect, but we will never be perfect. We will step on insects, and we will, in the process of gardening, we might kill some bacteria or whatever, small little creatures, or we might buy something that unfortunately has some hidden animal ingredient in it. So it's not possible to be perfect, but we can strive. And that's the thing. We can't get to the Garden of Eden tomorrow or today, but we can strive to get there. We can strive walking farther away from society, walking farther away from our culture, and talking to people about this, creating communities. And that's the whole thing, is creating communities. And I want to make an analogy before I actually finish this video. And it's basically one that Gary Francione made in his books. And that is, when you have a burning house, that is just like what we're facing on this earth. We're facing a burning house. The burning house is basically all the wrong that we're doing in this world, and all the animal products that we're eating, and all the animals that we're killing, and the environment that we're destroying. And what we need to do is not to try and take a hose and take out the fire, but to actually create a new world. Because when people are so absorbed, very absorbed to that fire, they can't hear or see anything else. They're totally absorbed to that fire. Now, some people, when we create a new community, and it's like we're playing outside, for example, outside of the burning house. And so when we create a community, a new community of sharing and love, there are going to be some people that go out of the house and come and join the people playing outside. And that's what we want to do. We want to get people, we want to attract people out of the burning house. And that's what it is. It's basically all the distractions and all the chaos that's running throughout people's minds, bodies, and hearts. And so the idea is really to try to attract people in a loving, non-judgmental way. So I want to thank you for joining me. Again, please share, like, subscribe. Don't forget to get my book. It's down below, baby. Somewhere down here. And I'll see you soon. Don't forget, again, like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel. I'll see you soon. Love you all.